Hello, welcome to Craft Your Future channel. This channel shares great books and inspires motivation. Today, we will explore The Moon and Sixpence by William Somerset Maugham together. Life is not just about the immediate, fleeting concerns. It is also about poetry and what lies in the distance. Yet, in reality, how many dare to set aside the worries of present life, and how many are willing to cast aside economic anxieties, desires, and ambitions to pursue what is called poetry and the faraway? Outwardly, one may exhale deep-seated joy, but beneath, one treads the path of compromises for the sake of immediate stability. As the genius novelist Maugham wrote in The Moon and Sixpence, most people do not become what they want to be, but rather what they must be. The moon symbolizes ideals, while practicalities represent reality. Which one will you choose? Will you look up and chase the moon hanging high above, or bow down because of the rice barrels of everyday life? The answer is bound to be different for everyone. In a previous video by Craft Your Future discussing the book Walden, there was the true story of writer Henry David Thoreau. At the age of 28, he abandoned a promising business career to become rich in a different sense. He renounced all worldly desires, grabbed an axe, and built a small wooden house by the beautiful Walden Pond, living in solitude. Some listeners remarked, abandoning everything to live a solitary life is selfish. In reality, we have families, wives and children, parents, and responsibilities. How can we possibly live like that? On the contrary, many found deep inspiration in Thoreau's story of living alone by Walden Pond. They realized that it was time to be true to themselves and live at their own pace. When confronted with these conflicting emotions, one naturally wonders, what creates this inner contradiction? How can each person live a life without regrets? Flipping through the pages of The Moon and Sixpence provided me with the answer. Today, I share this through my video to contribute to your understanding and perspective on your own life choices. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Peterson, the channel dedicated to sharing knowledge and holistic self-development through great books and videos. Today, we are going to discuss how your perception determines everything, as illustrated in the book The Moon and Sixpence. This timeless masterpiece by William Somerset Maugham, a renowned English novelist, playwright, and essayist, beloved in the first half of the 20th century, awaits your attention. Your perception determines how you pursue life. Strickland, the main character, is a stockbroker in London. He has a stable job that earns him enough money to support his family in the city center. He marries a capable wife who manages the household, and they have 2 well-behaved children. Strickland enjoys a successful career, abundant income, a happy family, and a respected status, a life envied by many. Yet, unexpectedly, this quiet and unremarkable middle-aged man leaves it all behind and goes to Paris alone. He left only a letter of fewer than 10 lines, telling his wife, "I will not be coming back." At the age of 40, Strickland coldly abandons his wife and children, all for a vague dream, to become a painter. In the eyes of society, his decision appears foolish and mistaken. Firstly, he forsakes a comfortable life to plunge into poverty. Strickland devotes all his time to painting, caring little about earning a living, subsisting on minimal necessities. He takes any job to make money quickly, but once he has it, he pours it all into oil paints, secluding himself in his studio. Secondly, he blindly chases an uncertain future. At 40, with his rudimentary painting skills, relying solely on youthful dreams, could he really become an artist? To the world, he seems utterly foolish. Yet he proclaims, "You are the real fool. I must paint. I cannot do otherwise." When someone falls into water, even if they are a good swimmer, it doesn't really matter now. They either thrash around to escape or sink. Think about it. Does one have to be an excellent swimmer to swim? Must certain conditions be met before one can pursue a dream? Is it the person who is foolish, or is it the world that is naive? Many people out there use others' standards of success and benefits to measure their own choices, spending their limited time enduring an unhappy life they don't like. Yet what about the person who devotes their finite life to chasing a dream, regardless of whether it succeeds or fails, whether they gain or lose? Are they foolish or courageous? Psychologist Catron once noted that people will go to any lengths, even concoct every possible scheme, to avoid facing their inner selves. But only those who dare to confront their souls are truly awakened. Struther is undoubtedly one of those who dare to face his inner self. He dares to leap out of his comfort zone and bravely pursue his dream. Is material wealth light and trivial or supreme? Is it a precious treasure to be hoarded or merely a pair of shoes to be discarded? It all depends on you. How many people timidly glance up at the moon only to keep bowing their heads to chase the sixpence that they rely on for food and clothing? Here, the moon symbolizes the sublime ideals and magnificent goals of the soul, whereas the sixpence, of little value, represents the mundane and practical aspects of life. We live in a world flooded with sixpences, where clinging tightly to earthly desires and bowing down has become the norm. Are we to be like slaves of time, hurrying through this finite existence, bound by the web of relationships with others, eventually forgetting our initial aspirations and paralyzed by the need to become someone? If you keep looking down at the ground to search for sixpences rather than gazing up at the sky, you will miss the moon. In truth, each of us will have a little ditch or a small stream. Only those who insist that life is too short and proclaim, "I only want to live the rest of my days in my own way," transform themselves into deep rivers or vast oceans. But if you think that Mom is merely feeding you a bit of toxic sale hype for your soul, then you have underestimated him. The famous philosopher Schopenhauer once said that the greatest prison in the world is the human mind. The constraints that bind a person's life are not their wealth, job, or family, but rather their mindset. Different perceptions lead to different pursuits in life. Happiness, or the lack thereof, is entirely defined by you. Whether it is the moon or the sixpence, whichever you choose, the ultimate value you obtain will be answered by your own heart. Strickland placed painting above all else. He did everything to turn his dreams into reality. His wife prioritized social status, so she worked diligently and tirelessly to achieve her desires. You will undoubtedly reap what you sow, and it is no coincidence that two people who lived together for 17 years eventually parted ways. For now, their perceptions have become entirely different. A philosopher who founded classical German philosophy once said, "I respect any independent soul, even those I do not acknowledge, but I strive to understand them." Some are drawn to the elusive moonlight, others to practical coins. Differing perceptions may be hard to reconcile, but mutual respect remains paramount. You need not live cautiously within others' perceptions, nor should you judge their ways of life or perspectives. No hierarchy of priorities in life has a fixed measure. As long as you face your soul, live as yourself, and strive wholeheartedly, that is the message the author wishes to convey. Your perception determines your priorities in life. Strickland's wife possessed an air of nobility and an affinity for glamour. To her, life was meant to be a quietly flowing river, but one day it suddenly surged with turmoil when her husband left without warning, leaving behind chaos that shattered the peaceful reality. After 17 years together, the man who seemed to be her closest companion turned out to be the most alien. Not because of infidelity, but because of painting. He abandoned both his wife and children, leaving her feeling utterly humiliated and disgraced. She fell into despair, yet quickly awoke when her support system collapsed. She could only stand on her own. She began to rapidly learn typing, simultaneously renting out her house, selling off belongings, and moving into a small home. When there is no one else, the world keeps turning. Through her hard work, her career gradually took off, and her children eventually became successful. In the end, she was able to move to a new community, cease typing work, and return to the upper class. In her perception, relying on others was not glorious in the least. Only through self-reliance, along with external factors that are splendid and capable of displaying a confident smile, can one truly achieve the lifelong goal they pursue. Perception differs among individuals. The order of priorities that determine one's life will also vary, and thus, the paths of effort will differ. As long as you find genuine joy in what you pursue and accomplish, with no inner noise, conflict, or struggle, then no choice can be labeled right or wrong. noble or lowly. Everything is answered by your heart. Strickland placed painting above all else. He did everything to turn his dreams into reality. His wife prioritized social status, so she worked diligently and tirelessly to achieve her desires. You will undoubtedly reap what you sow, and it is no coincidence that two people who lived together for 17 years eventually parted ways. For now, their perceptions have become entirely different. A philosopher who founded classical German philosophy once said, "I respect any independent soul, even those I do not acknowledge, but I strive to understand them." Some are drawn to the elusive moonlight, others to practical coins. Differing perceptions may be hard to reconcile, but mutual respect remains paramount. You need not live cautiously within others' perceptions, nor should you judge their ways of life or perspectives. No hierarchy of priorities in life has a fixed measure. As long as you face your soul, live as yourself, and strive wholeheartedly. That is the message the author wishes to convey. Your perception determines how you treat others. In the novel, there is another character named Strove. A 30-year-old painter, already balding, his artistic skills were still clumsy, but he possessed an exceptional aesthetic eye and a talent for recognizing genius. He alone understood Strickland's paintings and devoted himself to helping him. When Strickland fell gravely ill, Strove brought him home to care for him, despite his wife's vehement objections. Unexpectedly, taking Strickland in made Strove's wife despise him. Yet, perhaps from their first meeting, she had fallen for this man. During the caregiving process, frequent contact was inevitable. She became deeply infatuated and wished to live with him. Strove was utterly heartbroken, but out of love for his wife and admiration for Strickland's artistic talent, he ultimately chose to withdraw, returning home to leave his wife and Strickland to their homes. They could have been happy together, but unexpectedly, it did not take long for Strickland to abandon Blanche. People might think Strickland was truly a scoundrel in love, but ultimately, it was because Strickland and Blanche lacked shared perceptions. They pursued entirely different goals in life. Blanche sought romantic love. For love, she disregarded the world's opinions, but needed her lover's presence. However, in Strickland's heart, art reigned supreme. He refused to devote time to romance, and thus, he chose to walk away. To him, two people with differing perceptions and divergent life goals can never stay together forever. Returning to Strove, who deeply loved his wife, upon hearing news of her, he hoped she would return to him. Yet, his waiting led only to a tragic end. She poisoned herself for love of another. Even so, Strove's love for his wife did not diminish his admiration for art. He invited Strickland to live with him in his Dutch homeland, but was rejected. It can be said that Strove remained a kind-hearted man throughout. He was like a farmer clutching a venomous snake. Bitten, his wounds healed. He forgot the pain, and again embraced the serpent to his chest. Seemingly a unified entity, these are contradictions that God has created. He is short, stout, often mistaken for a pompous rich man. Yet, in truth, he is an artist with a discerning eye. His paintings lack realism, appearing gaudy and distorted, but he is an honest man, incapable of grandiloquence. He is kind-hearted, compassionate, and generous. He never imagined he would encounter Strickland, a man who sees no one else in his eyes, ungrateful and callous. He loves his wife more than himself, even when met with her betrayal. Mocked by colleagues, he still lends money to those in need. This is how he lives, giving endlessly, expecting nothing in return. As the novel states, he is noble and selfless. Even with a tragic end, the greatness of Strove's essence cannot be obscured. Some pity him as foolish, while others recognize his nobility. Different perceptions shape how we treat others. Some live joyfully, helping without seeking reward. Others act selfishly, prioritizing only themselves. Yet no matter how harsh life becomes, there is always a place for you, a sanctuary for your clear conscience and universal love. Your perception dictates how you interact with the world. Regardless, follow your conscience, live fully, and give love. The book suggests doing what you desire, living in your chosen circumstances with peace and without strife. A life of freedom, guided by your own awareness and spirit. Success or failure. Each defines it differently. Varying perceptions lead to varied choices. Some chase fame and fortune. Others crave tranquility, leisure, and freedom. Our life choices depend entirely on our own awareness. So, how should we live to avoid regret? Adler once said, "You do not live to meet others' expectations, nor do others live to meet yours. Listen to your heart and choose the life you love." Is that not life's greatest success? A person's life is not a narrow path to be judged by terms like success/failure, good/bad, right/wrong. Everyone has their own way. Others have no right to interfere, nor should lifestyles be ranked. What matters is that you cherish yours. Van Gogh said, "There is a fire in everyone's heart. Passers-by only see the smoke. Live for the fire within, not the smoke in others' eyes." Whether gazing at starry skies or walking the earth, live as you wish. If your heart feels no conflict or struggle, that is enough. Those who relentlessly pursue their dreams are truly beautiful. May you, I, and all of us lead wondrous lives, living as we desire, embracing existence wholeheartedly. Thank you for listening. If you found this video meaningful, share it with those who might need it. Support Craft Your Future with a like, follow, and turn on notifications for new content. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next video.